Greetings, everyone. Today we are discussing the dangers and confusion around Area 8, sex. And I'm going to play one of the many clips we'll be sharing today.
Like a really traumatic situation where this guy, where he was just like so fucking horrible to me and he just treated me like a stupid black bitch. And it was like so painful for me, and everybody was like, well, you're the fucking dumbass because you stayed.
Oops, parental discretion advised. There's a lot of swearing, cursing, and foul language used, but it's for educational purposes. We're not here to make fun of this victim of racism. We are here to provide constructive information of how to prevent such situations like this from happening on planet Earth. So I'm gonna continue. That's like the discussion, educational purpose. And let's go.
And you're just a stupid black bitch because you let him treat you like one. And like, I know that the situation was my fault because I should have just left, but like, it really fucking hurt because like I had sex with him and he basically just like used me for sex. He was like white guy in a frat. And so basically I ended up seeing him at Target when I was there with my old best friend like at the time. And he wouldn't look me in the eyes. He wouldn't say anything. It was like he was ashamed of me and just like embarrassed. Which is like how most people get about me, and it was like so fucking painful. And so I stood up for myself and said what I needed to say to him. And he ran away from me when I was speaking to him. And my friend was like, that's humiliating. Like, she was like, you just embarrass yourself, and like, that's pathetic for you as a black woman to do something that stupid. Like, it hurt so fucking bad because I wasn't even worth being looked in the eye. Like, it hurt so fucking bad. And looking back, and that was the guy who, like, when I asked him to stop during sex, he held me down. Like, that happened a few months after the Target situation. And I was like telling my friends, I was like, I'm just fed up being treated like this. It's like every person that I would run into would do this shit to me, like take advantage of me. And they were like, then just don't be a stupid black bitch with a fat ass. And it was like so painful for me. Cause I feel like if I tell anybody, they'll just tell me to stop being a stupid slut. And it's like, this is like the last place, because like I can't talk to my friends about it, like I can't talk to my parents about this, and like my therapist doesn't understand. Like, I'm in so much pain right now. Like, it was already difficult enough as it is. Like, I wish growing up I didn't hate myself.
Okay, so we just watched Victim of Racism, Samara, describe an interaction she had with a white man whom she had went to the bedroom with, aka had sex with, or like I like to use counter racist language, codify language. The correct term to use in this case is she was raped. She was raped by a white man. And before we get into the text, into the books, let's hear what else she has to say on this situation, because we will be studying her words and trying to eliminate a lot of her confusion, because I suspect many victims of racism, Black males and Black females, may be experiencing similar ordeals such as we just saw like we just witnessed. So let's get on to the next one.
I just want to clarify, a lot of people are saying, was that your boyfriend? Did you guys break up? Did you leave him? Like, what ended up happening? Basically, I just want to clarify, for 8 months, I was said before, when we had sex before, it did become painful, and I had told him. He stopped automatically, but there was one time where he saying, I just want to clarify, a lot of people are saying, was that your boyfriend? Did you guys break up? Did you leave him? Like, what ended up happening? Basically, me and him were just like hooking up. I had known him for 8 months. Me and him had hooked up on and off for 8 months. We were just like friends with benefits. We weren't really And the thing is, I really trusted this person. Like, he knew that I was sexually assaulted in the past. I knew that he was sexually assaulted in the past. We knew a lot of personal information about each other. And we were getting to a point where we were really close in our relationship. And before, when we had had sex before, it did become painful. And I had told him. He stopped automatically, but there was one time where he just kept going for a little bit longer, which I found was kind of weird. And so I pushed him off of me. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why the fuck would you do something like that? And he was like, no, like, I heard you. I was trying to, like, get off of you. I just was, like, trying to gather myself. But that should have been the automatic red flag. But, yeah, I was never with him. And I'm not in contact with him anymore. He's not blocked or anything. But he does message me on Snapchat, like, to say happy birthday. Or he just, because this happened in the beginning of May. It's now the end of June. But he wished me happy birthday, and he said hi, but I just ignore him. I don't know. I mean, there's like hundreds of comments. I mean, I've read every comment, every single one, but there's like hundreds of comments telling me that, and I don't know. I just initially, after it happened, I just thought that it was a really weird situation. I didn't want to overreact or anything. Like, I'm fine. I mean, it happened in the beginning of last month. Like, I'm good. I just stay away from that person. We don't go to school, luckily, because I feel like if we went to school together, because we're both in college, he's like in a fraternity, I don't know, like, he just thinks he's so above everything else and that he can do no wrong. He doesn't lose any sleep at night over it. So I just was like, whatever, if he lets it go, I let it go. He's just very entitled, and like, I don't know, like, he comes from money. Like, his parents just like bought him a new BMW. He just thinks he's like so, I don't know, and he acts like he made it out the mud and out the dirt. Like, he had a hard life and grew up in the six. He's just irritating.
Okay, again, she's talking about a white man, and I think this is a terrifyingly tragic example of the damage that white supremacy does to the minds of victims, because she literally mentions how she was raped by this man, and but yet she's unable to use those words. She's unable to understand that, because the white supremacists have trained us to think that sex with a white person is possible. It's not sex, it's just rape. It's just experimental sex, if anything. And this victim, after that encounter, if you're paying attention to the words she used, after that encounter that she had with the white man in a Target, that triggered her to have the outburst and her to cry and make this video telling us what happened. She had sex with him after that. She after she saw him at Target, she met up with him again. But the incident at Target can be definitely understood more if you understand that first of all, this book is called the book that I will be referencing is called Pieces of a Puzzle: The One Thing Black Females Will Not Talk About. And I do appreciate victim racism Samara for talking about her experiences with this white man. But in this text, Miss Tate, the author, Renita Tate, she mentions this how white men and black females have a secret, and I'm sure black males as well have a secret with the white supremacists. We all do, especially those of us who refuse to talk about the race problem. But in this case, Area 8, white men often do not like to let it be known that they are sexually engaging with a black female, which is possibly why that he ran away from her. And I think it's really just a really interesting, definitely a racist act, of course, for him to even have sex with her in the first place. But for him to literally run away from her because he did not want to be seen with her or to be known with that guy who had sex with victim of racism. Just really interesting, really tragic. And her story is really similar to this author's story. Um, let me go ahead and read it. So she mentions how she was having sex with the white man, being raped by the white man because in the system of white supremacy, non-white people are children and white people are the adults in this system. Therefore, it's like a person having sex with a baby. So it's always rape. And if you think otherwise, then you are probably into some incorrect things. Anywho, her story of how she was raped is very similar to Miss Tate's story. How at first, they were having sex, and then it just starts hurting and gets aggressive, and she wants it to stop. She asks it to stop, but it doesn't stop. Miss Tate didn't ask for it to stop, but she wanted it to stop. Samara, victim of racism, Samara in the video, she asked for it to stop, but she had to push him off, according to what she said. So let me read from. Okay, so this is on page 15 from Pieces of a Puzzle, and this is how the story is very similar. And I'm pointing out the similarities because there's a pattern of racist behavior that victims of racism must be able to identify and understand so we can avoid them. And the easiest way to avoid the dangers and confusion of Area 8 is to understand the system of white supremacy, and most importantly, to stay out of bed with white people as long as the system exists. So on page 15, Ms. Tate's writes, and she refers to this white man as white Jesus. And she does that because she mentions how we have been trained to literally worship white people, with the whole imaging God as white and Jesus as white. So this is why she refers to this racist rapist as a white Jesus. Um, I looked at him and remembered he was tall. He was a tall, thin white man, and his penis was light in color. Then, in about 2 seconds, he was on top of me. To this day, I don't remember him ever kissing me, and I could not see his face at the time because he was taller than me. His entry into my body was gentle, but once he got inside of me, he was he went on like a wild man. He began pushing and pushing. He was very violent and rough. He started pounding, pounding, and pounding on me. He was hurting me. It hurts. Please stop, I said to myself. I was crying out, but no one could hear. I never said anything to him because I was too scared. It was like he was trying to violently kill me. All I thought all I thought to myself at the time was that I'll be so glad when this is over. I knew that he would not be able to continue at this pace for long. Without reaching a climax, I laid there holding my body stiff as a rock. I said to myself, please hurry up, and I will never, ever do this again. At this point, he shifted his body and I could see his face. I was watching him closely and waiting for the expression on his face to change because I knew then it would be all over. I was not a virgin at this time when I had sex with this white man, and I knew this was not the way black males had sex with me. The pain I experienced with this white man was a pain that I never knew or ever experienced with sexual intercourse. With black males, there was always a pleasing vibration I would receive from being penetrated. It was finally over. It was not like the white Jesus was inside of me for long, but the pain of it all seemed to last forever. After he finished, he got off of me, but the way he got off of me stayed with me for a long time. He got off of me like I was a piece of trash or like he had gotten off of dirt. I remember feeling like I had a disease. He crossed over me and laid down. By this time, I was just observing him. I was wide awake. The next thing I noticed, he had turned his back towards me, then a cold feeling rushed through my body. Finally, I fell off to sleep. So this happened decades ago, but it's such a similar story to what happened to victim racism Samaria. And this is because white men and white women, they have been practicing this racial aggression, this racist aggression in the form of us, in the form of us, I mean against us in the form of sex since they have contacted us. And people always like to justify um, interracial relationships with black males and and white people. People like to justify interracial relationship between white people and non-white people, saying like love is love, but and like it's gonna help to solve the race problem. But we had white people have been having sex with us since they've encountered us. They had sex with us, raped us during slavery, and didn't do anything to get us out of slavery at all. And it's not going to do anything to for us to solve this problem. If anything, I suspect if all non-white people actually say, you know what, nope, I'm not going to have sex with this white person. I'm not going to engage this white person in any matter other than I got to work on the plantation for my 9 to 5 and solving the race problem. No more sex. Only thing I want to do is solve this race problem, or allow me to do my plantation work so I can exist in this hellhole you have allowed to happen. But if we all said no more sex between white people, perhaps we would really we'll get them to solve this problem. Or for the folks who are really confused, when they start raping us again violently, overtly, and not this refined way that they do it now, while calling it sex and love and romance and all this nonsense. But this is yeah, I think I'll pause there to see if folks have anything to share. I do have much more to comment on regarding what we just discussed.
As far as the young lady who shared her traumatic experience, I think that was the most accurate term she used when at the very beginning about it being a traumatic experience. Well, she didn't exactly use the word, but she did use the word traumatic. On page, I want to read from the code, area 6, page 275. The remarks and suggestions made herein are made with the intention of being helpful and producing constructive results pertaining to non-white people and their sexual arrangements during the existence of the system of white supremacy. It is important to know and to understand that during the existence of and because of the system of white supremacy, no sexual arrangements of any kind will be what it should be. To expect it to be what it should be, to expect it to be what it should be is to invite disappointment and or unnecessary confusion and conflict. And that's definitely what I saw in that video, with both videos of the young lady. I'll mute myself for now.
Thank you. Exactly. Thanks for reading that. I'm going to also continue on with pieces of a puzzle, because she does an excellent job at describing sex between white people and non-white people as being incorrect. And when a white person is doing it, it's most certainly a racist attack. And I just appreciate this victim, because Miss Tate was a confused victim who wanted to understand why things between white people and non-white people were incorrect. And her journey, I mean, and her work to understand that led her to produce this very, very, very constructive book. And also, she learned from her being raped by a white man, and it definitely encouraged her to want to solve the problem, which is Black self-respect to the maximum degree. So this is from page 27, Pieces of a Puzzle. From the code, I learned white men who choose to engage in sex with black females are practicing racism against us through the use of sex. The white Jesus not only used sex in his practice of racism and white supremacy, but he also used deceitful words against me. Now the code states the chief characteristic of a racist man or woman is deceit. Based on that, I realized this white man had planned all along to do this to me. This was his hidden agenda. The code also states as long as racism and white supremacy exists, no black females or males should have sex with white people. I was raped by a skilled professional rapist. And throughout the years, white people, as racists, have become skilled in their practice of racism and white supremacy. With the help from the code, I found the answer to my long aged question. Why were white people so hostile towards black people? Well, as it turns out, this is just another technique racist white men and women use to maintain control over their victims. You see, it's called keeping black people in line. Once I got rid of my anger, I then looked at this information I had, but I did not know how to present it. So I told my friend, and she said, start with your story, just tell your story. All right, so black self-respect right there, and also her understanding, just the racism. I love her. No, not with love, because I highly appreciate her use of racist man and woman. She is very much aware that this is a tactic used by racist man and racist woman. Because that is also a piece of the puzzle. Racist women also often go unmentioned, but they're also confusing and sabotaging black males and black females. And as you'll see throughout this broadcast, go ahead, Mr. Ray 1/0.
Oh, five, is it okay that I read a paragraph from page 29?
Uh,
It really stuck out to me here.
I would definitely appreciate it. Go ahead, sir.
Sure. Thank you. This is page 29 from Pieces of a Puzzle. Our ancestors were programmed to like white people and dislike themselves. As a result of this, Black people began to value the same things that white people valued, but it wasn't for us. It was against us. Black people then began to pass down what little they knew from generation to generation. But Black people were not given that much information to pass down. The slaves did not ask questions out of fear that they would be killed. Back then and today, Black people still do not ask enough questions. And this is why Black people remain in the mental state of children. Asking questions help our minds to develop, but the racist white men are busy working toward keeping Black people in a childlike state. What the racists do is make it very difficult for Black people to obtain information and knowledge, the knowledge we need to help us become men and women. White people will often call Black people as boys and girls when they want to offend Black people. Nevertheless, Black people did not agree and wanted white people to refer to them as men and women. But this is simply not true because Black people are heavily dependent on white people. As a matter of fact, white people now have it to where all non-white people on this planet are heavily dependent on them. That's all. Thank you, sir.
And that's a really, I think, thank you for reading that, because that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, how we are children. And it's not just, I'm just saying we're children. Like, white people came up with a method of making us children, of inferiorizing us and retarding us and sabotaging us and conditioning us and niggerizing us to this condition that we are in right now in 2021, the conditions that produces behaviors such as what we saw in this video that happened, that Samara acted on. the confusion, and that led to me in the past, being raped by multiple white women. Um, so really, we are definitely children, and this is why we should use the correct terms. It's rape. It's not correct. White people know it's not correct. Um, at least the honest ones. Um, so we should definitely stop this behavior. We should stop allowing ourselves to be experimented on, which is a excellent segue to read what I actually mean by this experimental sex, which is the only kind of sex that white people have with non-white people. The kinds of rapes that white people have against non-white people. So this is from page 32. And this was also mentioned in the ISIS papers a little bit, I believe, in chapter 2. But anyway, this is from Pieces of a Puzzle, page 32. Experimental sex relates to all kinds of sex, anal sex, oral sex. Furthermore, it includes an act known as the golden shower, urinating on a person for pleasure, and group sex, multiple partners. Experimental sex can also involve oral sex, sex with food, and bondage, tying one up. Based on research from this book, these were no based on the research for this book, these were the kinds of sexual experiments Black people were engaging in with white people who are really the adults. Having sex outside in cars and parks, alleys, and school, and on the job is considered experimental sex. Research also concluded that white people who choose not to see Black people as people. This explains why they have everyone, including themselves, using terms like Blacks and whites. When they are referring to people, this is done so that Black people will not see themselves as people. Instead, shades of color. Black people are under the domination of white supremacy racism, are seen as things or objects that can be experimented with and or played with. And we definitely see that in how they engage with us and what they call sex. It's not, if we have been convinced that, you go to area 3 is a large reason of why there's so much confusion in area 8, because all these areas tie in together. Area 3 entertainment is a powerful force that trains Black people, non-white people, really, really early on how to just be a victim, essentially, and how to just be I shouldn't say a victim, because nothing, it's not our fault that we're victims, but just how to be focused on all the wrong things, I should say. For example, we're taught that you go to the club, you meet a cute, hot person, whether it's a in this case, whether it's a Black person or not, you meet a person and you guys have this so-called one night stand. That is not you guys have a one night stand in the car somewhere. That is not real sex. That is experimental sex, because as counter racist science and counter racist language says, sex is the just constructive interactions between males and females, and
Not to mention all of the possible STDs, from all of those one night stands.
Oh yeah, and yeah, if we miss the victim of racism, Samara, she has a video talking about her experience with genitalia herpes, and I suspect she may have contracted that from a white person, but I may be incorrect. And tragically enough, I also know a female victim, black victim of racism who contracted an STD from a white person in college. Herpes as well. And that's lifelong illness from from being trained and worshiping the white phallus and the white body. And it's not their fault, it's just the power of white supremacy, the power of white people.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Lest we not forget Jason Roger Pope, the infamous white supremacist DJ out in South Carolina, who I believe he sex trafficked nearly 700 black girls. And if I recall correctly, he spreaded AIDS to a number of black women also, black females, pardon me. So these things are not widely talked about. So Pieces of a Puzzle by Renethia Tate, it's a great piece of work.
Yeah, I agree. It's very, very necessary text. And just the dangers of area 8 for a victim who does not understand what we're dealing with is I like to say, because I think it's true, that if you are engaged with a white person and you're a victim of racism, if you're engaged with them sexually, romantically, that's I think that's a sure way to find yourself either in a mental ward, the grave, or greater confinement. It's just a matter of time. But okay, so I want to hammer in on how we are not what we often like to call ourselves, what we often too much see us calling ourselves. We are not men or women. We are prisoners of war, victims of racism, children of war, babies. That's what the white supremacists have made us, have conditioned us to be. And Samara is a black female who I think is there's many more who have been successfully programmed in her manner of thinking. If you explore that TikTok, you will see how she's a victim who has been a victim for 20 years. She's 20 years old. And I watched the video of her discussing how she's like, she's done looking for love. She spent a lot of time looking for love. She thought she wasted her youth looking for love. She's 20 years old and she found a perfect guy. But it turns out that she has the perfect guy now, but she doesn't want him. And she was just talking like literal just confused nonsense but that is what we have been programmed with. And I'm gonna read this on page 33 just to hammer in why how that thinking occurred, because that's just a giant fantasy. Like, love does not exist in the system of white supremacy. There's no such thing as love. Black females, black males are trained to think that we're gonna find the perfect relationship, the perfect arrangement, the perfect love, and that's gonna make us happy, and that's gonna give us all the comfort we need to exist. But it's never gonna happen as long as we are in a system of white supremacy. And the white supremacists have injected our brain computers, our minds, our psyches with fantasies. We exist on lies and fantasies and wanting to feel good and a bunch of incorrect stuff. So page 33, Miss Tate says, through the skillful use of deceit and or direct violence, the white people who practice white supremacy force all people classified as non-white to function as children in all of their relationships with people classified as white. Black females know this is true. Why else would they constantly demand Black males to be a man? This is a problem. The problem is that Black females refuse to accept the fact that racists have reduced them to function as girls and not women. Black girls are in a big time fantasy about relationships and marriages. The code says it is cruel and unjust for those white people who practice white supremacy and who are collectively the smartest and most powerful people on the planet to continue to take unjust sexual advantage of subjugated, deprived, and comparatively ignorant and silly people, non-white people. To do so is equivalent to grown persons taking advantage of babies. The code says any person non-white who is directly or indirectly subject to white supremacy racism is a child. It is not possible for a person non-white to be subject to white supremacy and be a man or a woman. And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Really quick before you go any further, that last little bit that you just read, the code says any person non-white who is directly or indirectly subject to white supremacy racism is a child. If there's any non-white person out there in the known universe that disagrees with that, ask yourself if you're still dealing with quote unquote childhood issues right now in your adulthood. So that was a worthy note, sir. That's all I had.
Yeah, I was gonna end it there. And on top of that, I asked myself, who literally controls, the level of money I am able to have, who controls where I live, who has all the guns, who has all the money and power, and who do you have to go to when you need help, whose system are you living in? Well, like what, there's so many questions ones can ask themselves when we're trying to figure out, like, are you a child? Do you really have the power to not have a race soldier, law enforcement come into your dwelling and snatch you away for whatever reason? The white people say, can you really control, how much you have to give white people every month to exist? Do you have to pay white people to exist? Yes. If the answer is yes, then you may be in some sort of incorrect position. And especially you have to ask, if I'm just the logic, we have to ask for permission. When I was a kid, I used to like, mom, can I go outside? I had to ask for permission to do things because I knew I was a small kid then. But then when I became an older victim of racism, I thought I was whatever a man was, and I already didn't think being a man was too much something constructive, so I didn't really care to be a man. But when someone called me that, I was like, yeah, whatever, I guess I am. I don't. But as I got less confused, I realized, oh, it makes sense. I'm not a man because, I wouldn't be in this system where I keep seeing Black people get destroyed, whether it's through not having food in their bellies or whether it's from having bullets shot through their bellies. I'm seeing Black people killed constantly. And if I was a man, I would be able to do something about this. But I can't because I'm just a victim, prisoner of war. So we are children, and we should be very serious about not wanting to be children anymore. We should want to get serious about solving the problem. And it could be as simple as just talking about it. No longer having sex with white people. I'm not gonna go to the bedroom with you. You're a white person. You may be you're a suspected racist. You may harm me. Actually, you are harming me by not solving this problem right away. So get to the solving the problem, and I hope me solve the problem, and then maybe we talk about the bedroom. But we got to solve this problem ASAP. And as being children, we don't have any power, But the white people have retarded us so much that they don't have to go into our homes anymore and snatch us up and forcibly penetrate us anymore. They don't have to do that. They could, buy us some sweet poison they call food, and then take us home on a nice comfy bed and penetrate us there and rape us there. But so they don't have to do it the overt way anymore, but it's still rape, and it's kind of one of our few bargaining relationships. And it's one of the few things that we have control over. You know, we still have to invite them in a way, even though they're really good at choosing us and convincing us to take them to the bedroom. We still have that very, very tiny little control of, being able to say, you know what, I'm not gonna have sex with a white person. White supremacy is still going on. I think I would rather solve the problem. Um,
Yeah, why do you think the board game Monopoly is so popular? They control everything.
mm, yep.
Even though I
Every
don't want to leave out white women, even what Ray just said when he mentioned Monopoly, there's a little white guy. That the image of Monopoly is a little white guy, but don't want to leave out white women, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little white guy in the top hat. So, and also to further emphasize the why we should not have sex with white people, not just because it's incorrect and that they are exerting racist energy, racial aggression towards us when they're having sex with us, when they're raping us, but it further retards us, it further niggerizes us, it further takes us away from solving the problem, because it can mess us up. It can be really traumatic, like it was for Samara, where she's on TikTok, not being able to deal with the problem constructively, and not trying to solve the problem at all. Or it could, you know, lull us further into the confusion of thinking white supremacy is not as bad, or it's not in effect, or it's taking a vacation, or it's getting better, because it's not actually. It's not. It's always getting worse. The system is always getting worse for Black people, non-white people across the planet. So it brain trashes us, which is a term used in the counter racist lexicon. It's what it does to us. It retards us, and we have already been sabotaged to a high degree. And I'm gonna let Miss Tate emphasize this point yet again. This is on page 41. Research in the area of sex between white men and Black females revealed that many white men who choose to engage in sex with non-white girls can and licked oral licked oral sex then right into being a lesbian. The Black male misconfused will lead right into confusion about her own sexuality. Racist white people have experimental sex with Black people. This type of sex usually has a devastating mental effect on Black people. It is the racist white men and women who teach Black females and males who are comparatively children how and what to do sexually with people. The races are far more experienced with sex than any non-white person on this planet. I also found also wait, my bad. I also found after talking to these white men, many of their arrangements with non-white females would last three 3 months to a year. I asked these white men many questions concerning white women and what white women were doing in the bedroom with them. The white men did not give out any details. They just said white women were boring in bed. So what does this mean? Well, it could mean that white women do not allow white men to do all the things Black females allow white men to do to her in the bed. If it is true that white women are boring in bed, it explains the reason why large numbers of white men engage in sex with large numbers of non-white girls in secrets. I once heard a white man saying, "You ain't a man until you have slept with a Black woman." Black women will do any damn thing in bed because she's too scared not to. The racist white man will sometimes tell everyone, white women and Black males, except Black females, what the Black girls do in bed with them. Now, many non-white females do not know what is being said about her behind her back by white men. So the act between So the sex act between white men and black girls, all ages, is really not a secret. So this is why we should avoid sex with white people 100% of the time, because the not only does the white man, white female get energy from the sexual rape, they get to enjoy whatever they're enjoying. I'm not a white person, I don't know what they're getting, but I'm sure they're getting something if they're doing it. So not only are they doing that, but then they're going around and practicing racism some more with the spreading of the act. White people, they don't tell us how they maintain the system of white supremacy. They don't tell us how to solve the race problem or eliminate the system of race and white supremacy, but they'll tell each other and tell us how they are raping us in the bedroom. That is, very, very incorrect. important question. How? Because I'm sure Cobra knows the answer to this, but we're not supposed to know. The average victim, the less intelligent white people probably don't know.
What is it exactly that he's accomplished to be sitting there? You know
uh,
what I'm saying? That's why
allegedly,
they view.
I think he's the creator of Reddit. Apparently, he has something to do with the production of Reddit or something like that. The arrangement of Reddit, a website.
Right, right. But why is he really there? It's like they put the trophy right up on the desk. You heard the standing ovation and everything in the background.
Yep. You know, he's
Like
like,
he really championed that, didn't he?
yep. And just to add insult to injury, I suppose, the name is Olympia. You know, the offspring name is
Amazing,
Olympia. Like,
amazing.
I'm like,
Greco-Roman everywhere.
and, and I wonder if that was her idea, or did he, implant that idea in Miss Serena Williams' brain computer. But I'm gonna continue. The video. Thank you, Mr. Ray 1/0.
Woman. How does a self-described unequivocal nerd end up with one of the greatest athletes in recorded
Code for average looking white male? How does a average looking white person end up with a extremely attractive and dare I use the word accomplished black female? Let's see how he did it. Let's see how the white power did it.
history? How does that come about? It's not a natural match.
You know,
This is the sort of
Damn, there's so much coded language here, but I'm gonna stop. This is my last time pausing it. This is my first time seeing this clip. Natural match. It's not a natural match. They know there's something insane. There's something incorrect about non-white people and white people being together under the system. It's not natural for a person who has made you their enemy, who has declared you as their enemy. It's not natural for y'all to be in a bedroom together. It don't make sense. It makes no logical sense, but it's happening in millions, one day billions of bedrooms if we don't solve this problem ASAP. So continuing. Wow. Very, very interesting. Before I comment, I'm gonna read what I read earlier, but just as a refresher reminder, from the code, this is for page 27 of pieces of the paper. From the code, I learned white men who choose to engage in sex with black females are practicing racism against us through the use of sex. The white Jesus not only used sex in his practice of racism and white supremacy, but he also used deceitful words against me. Now the code states the chief characteristic of a racist man or woman is deceit. Based on that, I realized this white man had planned all along to do this to me. This was his hidden agenda. The code also states as long as racism and white supremacy exists, no black female or male should have sex with white people. I was raped by a skilled professional rapist. So it's funny how he says that Serena had a secret, he had a hidden agenda, his words exactly, but actually he's the one who used deceit and lies to acquire to choose and capture Serena Williams. I thought that was really, really interesting. And I think Miss Ash has something to oh, never mind.
They just cut off your stream for policy violation.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. All right, thoughts, comments.
Yeah, I had something I wanted to share. I think this is really interesting clip. I also think the only reason why it's on television is to help other suspected white supremacists you know, find their black sexual play toys, and there's black sexual props. I think a lot of the stuff he said was it's just to be expected. I wasn't shocked by anything. And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure the tennis player Serena Williams, she may think that she fought him, but I'm pretty sure that the moment he saw her, he decided that he would marry her. She's already very wealthy and famous. It can only benefit him. And of course, if anything goes wrong, he could just destroy her economically, for sure, because he probably has more access to wealth than she could ever imagine, considering he quote unquote created Reddit or had a role in creating Reddit.
Agreed and well said. I think she may also be a pretty so-called wealthy. I'm sure her career and her sponsors and whatnot. So I think he's definitely going to benefit more because he's going to be able to use her name because nobody knew who this person was until he had Serena Williams wrapped around his arms. So he's definitely using her as just as an accessory, and the whole zoo story is really interesting because he is this arrangement is really similar to a zoo, like to the creatures in a zoo and the zookeeper, if you understand the system of race and white supremacy.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention how I thought it was very suspicious how they are talking about rats, and then Serena Williams is brought up afterwards. I think whenever there's word association like that, it's hard for the brain to know or perceive that there's two languages happening. There's them talking about, oh yeah, there's a rat and I wasn't afraid of it. And to me, I also heard the double speak where it's Sabrina. I mean, is Serena? Is she the rat? Is she also a rat? So you're not scared of me. You're not scared of rats. I thought that was very, very suspicious how they worded that and how they had the stories. Had that story in there.
Yeah, he said I'm Brooklyn. You used to the gutter or something like that. I'm used to niggers. Yeah, it's tragic. Um, yeah. No matter how secure you think a black person is, they can, if they're confused and don't understand the system, they can still be chosen and dominated further in the bedrooms. I'm just making sure I covered all the notes. Any folks have anything to share regarding this clip I just showed?
When I first heard Alex talk about when he first met Serena, I didn't watch this clip. I've seen other interviews, and the way he made it sound as if he didn't even know who Serena was, and he was like, "Huh? What? Who, like, who's that?" Or whatever. Like yeah, the story it's the same but slightly different. He didn't know who she was. He claimed he didn't know who she was before. When I first heard their how did I meet story.
Yeah. Yeah, don't okay. Very, very thank you, Miss Helen. And I think all of these examples and what we've been talking about from page 31, pieces of a puzzle, non-white people do not control the sexual activity that takes place between them and a white person, nor do non-white people control anything in all areas of the nine of all of the 9 areas of activity. Therefore, the code says if you do not understand racism and how it operates, all other things like sexism, individualism will only confuse you. It is very difficult to talk about the sex between white and black people without talking about racism. Why? Because one person is classified as black and another classifies themselves as white and have organized themselves into a race. As a matter of fact, no one can talk about anything a black person and white person do together without talking about racism. The code states that anything a white person does to a non-white person should be open record and should be talked about openly and honestly. There should be no secret. It is the white people who represent the people who control all non-white people, all resources, animals, plants, and things on this planet. So that is the situation. This is what we are dealing with, and this is why I thought I wanted to do this broadcast, because it's just so rampant, and we haven't even got to the tweets yet. We haven't even got to how retarded the system has made us in area 8, in all 9 areas, but area 8 I suspect is very powerful, motivating area, because we have just been conditioned to think it is and to want to use a lot of our time and energy for this area. So I'm gonna bring up some tweets, and I just want to point out some correlations between being being conditioned, dominated to worshiping white people, seeking white people out for the bedroom or just for comfort. Correlate that reality with the reality of how that also equals you're probably going to hate black people or hate yourself. So this let me know if this is showing on everyone's screen. Is it showing up, this picture?
Yes, it's showing.
All right, excellent. So this is a victim of racism from Twitter, and you guys could just read it here. As it is, it seems very innocent. What's the problem? She just has
Is it possible to enlarge it? It's kind of small.
Yeah, I could zoom in, but the tweets break off. Let me see. Yeah, all in all, it just how she's like she just like seeking white affection, basically, is what the tweet surmise. She's seeking white affection. And let me find how this equals how, if a person is already has a thinking pattern where like they're fantasizing about young Joe Biden and like posting pictures of white people they're attracted to, you can guarantee that their feelings towards blackness is not, it's probably incorrect, probably full of anti-blackness, practicing self-hate anti-blackness, because that is usually what worshiping white equals. Worshiping white usually equals demeaning black. And there's that clip. Okay, and this is it. I know we have a just, I don't know if it's victim racism, but just a person saying we need more black owned Asian food places. Why? Because in the area of the world known as just because I don't need to explain why. There's many people classified as black that produce so-called Asian foods. Anywho, the same victim who is oodling over white people, wanting white people in the bedroom, wanting white attention, is making fun of just a person who wants, more black owned something. We can't own, So I just a small example, of course, but this is happening in numbers. in large numbers. So I'm gonna go to the next. Oh, bam. And I like to say that the Disney Channel is very deadly, very dangerous. And I'm so happy that I found this tweet because this is like an example of what happens when you have your offspring, your children in front of your so-called children in front of the television, watching the Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or whatever new channels pop up that that white people are producing. You should stay away as far away from the television as possible if you do not understand racism and white supremacy. Because this is what will happen. You know, she says Disney Channel used to be the fine white boy factory. It used to be top tier coming out of there. I don't know what happened, So I suspect that when she was a young victim of racism, she was early in her victimization. She was exposed to Disney Channel, and then she just became highly, highly white identified because the next tweets here are just her seeking whiteness. And I'll just leave it on the screen for a second so folks can read it. I'm not gonna read everything. And let's see more. Okay, and this is a black male because I don't want to just show black female. The problem is on it's with victims of racism. Period. Black males and females. And shout out to it's this youth as Twitter account. I think it's constructive. Um, I'm glad I could use your Twitter account in a constructive manner, and pointing out the confusion that we are that we have that non-white people, black people have. We have a black male here who is said no cap. I see this white girl with the biggest natural booty in Ross today. Like y'all had to see this. And it just reminds me of how we have been literally trained to practice the Yurugu thinking, the Yurugu mind, and compartmentalizing or just separating a person's body and then sexualizing each part of it. It's really incorrect, and it goes into how white people how white people delect to negroize us, how they see us as food sources, things to be consumed, in the bedroom or in real life, depending on what point of history we're referencing. So really incorrect, happening on both sides. Let's see. Oh yeah, and this one, bam. This is a lot of confusion here. A lot of confusion here. All right, this victim of racism says, and again, remember what I would like people to understand about in these tweets is a correlation between worshiping whiteness, seeking white people out for sex or attention for any non-constructive manner, and how that correlates to anti-blackness, and you can suspect that the black person probably hates themselves or hates black people. She said, this victim here says, Martin Luther King was cheating on his black wife with a white woman. Fuck our ancestors, honestly, LOL. This is what this victim said. And I'm just gonna read these because it's all connected. Rihanna and now Cassie, maybe my soulmate and a black man. I'm watching a Shameless, and maybe I should date a white man. I just saw the thickest white girl. I almost followed her to the class. Wasn't even my class. I got me a country white girl. I'm gonna get me a country white girl. I don't usually fuck with white girls, but there are a few that could get it all, my nigga. There are so many thick white girls in Minnesota, sweet Jesus. I'm gonna just date me a white girl, see how that works. I'm gonna just date me a white boy. My mom just as long as it's a boy, ASMH. Alrighty. So these are all like spread out at different points in time, but we can see like just hitting on all the confusing notes. You know, maybe she tried a white guy and she was like, as Renita Tate says, just licked into confusion. And then she tried to try to arrangement with a white female. She was raped by a white female as well. And yeah, said fuck Martin Luther King. Like he's a victim of racism. I'm pretty sure he was a victim of racism who shouldn't have been assassinated, despite whether or not his effort to solve the problem was constructive or not. And this,
I love how she's like, so
and she
5 years ago, it's okay for her to like white people, but once it's not woke anymore or something, all of a sudden Martin Luther King is just, fuck him, even though none of those rumors have been substantiated.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Thank you. I see Sir has a hand up.
Yeah, this is a lot of incorrect behavior, thought, speech, and action, I think. And I just had my attempted partner is currently doing a shift in a hospital, and she's overlooking a non-white Black female who is half white, and she's in a psychiatric ward because she is a alcoholic, and she basically at the age of 40 was raped by her white father because they were constantly drink together and get drunk together. And basically she woke up with her father, her white father, inside of her, and this is something that she blames herself because they would get pissed drunk together. And then I'm seeing these posts where they're worshiping white females and white males and having a day where it's like white boy of the week or something like that, some type of nonsense. Very, very incorrect behavior all around. And the monstrosity that I just shared about is a white male who probably has been thinking about raping his daughter for the moment she was born. And I suspect that a lot of mixed race women, like non-Black females who are half white, if they have not even if it's a white father, even if it's a white mother, I suspect that they are somewhat going to be sexually victimized at some point by someone in the family, because that's how racism, white supremacy works. Like, Black people, those classified as non-white, are constantly going to be mistreated. It doesn't matter if the dad's white or the mom's white. It does not matter. All that matters is that they are not white and they can be mistreated. So at one of these Thanksgiving parties, one of these ritualistic holidays, someone's going to catch the non-white offspring alone and do something, sexually deviant with the offspring. I just know that that's a large manifestation within relationships between white people and non-white people. All that matters is that they are not. So at one of these Thanksgiving parties, one of these ritualistic holidays, someone's gonna catch the non-white offspring alone and do something,
My apologies. I was listening to the wrong portion. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for chiming in. Wow, that is. I remember Neely Fuller saying something along the lines how white people, white men in particular, will love to already find a Black female who already has an offspring just for the very purpose of raping that offspring. So very common, definitely a detectable racist pattern of behavior. So thanks for sharing. Definitely in line with what we've been discussing here. Wow. Any more comments before I go to the next example of just the dangers and the confusion within and around area 8, because this is, you know, this is not cooperating. All right, next one. And these tweets just show like just immense confusion, and social media is really bad for one's health, you know. But I'm glad it's coming in constructively for this broadcast. Yeah, but it's damaging. All right, so we have victim of racism here. She says, my son not bringing home no white bitch home. He not allowed. And then next stream of text, you know, Cuomo, the ex-governor of New York, but I don't know if he's white. I think he is white. I'm sure he's white. I want to have sex with a white dude and a Hispanic. And then, you know, not at the same time though. Of course, you know, not at the same time. But these acts alone are incorrect, I suspect, especially if the Hispanic, because the Hispanic could be a white person or a non-white person. The Hispanic concept is really confusing and perhaps a really useful tool and the racist tool set that white supremacists use against us in the form of words. I remember when I thought I had a white boyfriend, SMH, maybe referring to a time she was used and abused sexually. This white man and adulterers is fine. AF. The better gave of it. Oh yeah, the better gave low key. I want a white guy. I want one high key. I have a thing for white boys. White boys make me smile. I'm starting to become more attractive than white boys. I'm afraid to date outside of my race. So we just see so much confusion, but perhaps as she's further conditioned, further victimized, you know, the white phallus, the programming to seek out the white phallus is successfully rigged in there. Successfully there. And again, this is a small number of victims. You know, you could go to It's This Used Twitter's account, and if you want to do some further studies and how we are like just constantly just exhibiting highly confused behavior around area 8 sex. Final one. I might fuck around and date a white guy. Yeah, and this victim is very similar to this one, you know, posting pictures of white people, you know. Justin is my daddy. That's correct. You know, race father. That actually is correct. You know, just as Justin Bieber is a white supremacist, possibly. Therefore, he could be classified as her race father, her daddy. Oh, here we go. Honestly, and again, this ties into what Renita's tape says here on page 33. Black females are in a big time fantasy about relationships and marriages. All right. Honestly, if I don't find a love of my life by 28, I'm gonna just settle for one of these white men with a black girl fetish. They be so ready to give me the whole world, and I just be playing. If I still like white guys the way I did in high school, I will for sure be married by now. Can't wait to see my. All right, okay, Justin Bieber worship. He went okay. Can't date my own race. It's practically impossible. Guess I'm gross. Okay, I'm about to be hella judged. I'm easily attracted to white boy with dreads. Like, oh my god, I can't even. You know, perhaps this is a fake account. You know, we're just being epically trolled by this victim, by a white person who's choosing to practice racism this way. Or this is a true victim who is actually practicing this thought, speech, and behavior, nonetheless, tragic, and I'm gonna view it as being something that is happening because, like these further ones indicate, this is very popular. If you hop on Instagram, you will see many, many, many smiling faces, smiling Black faces and white faces, happy, so-called happy to be with each other, but totally unaware that they are being experimented on, raped. All right, any comments on these tweets before we go on to the next video we're gonna play, courtesy of Miss B?
Tragic.
Yeah, I shouldn't laugh, but it's better than crying, But yeah, tragic. A tragic travesty. All of this entire existence that we are occupying is abhorrent, horrendous. Not for, and this business that we are in, not should be for every victim, but white supremacists have made us and made the system very scary. So here we are. All right. So I guess all right. I guess I don't know why I shared the tweets with only one person. All right, I'm gonna play the video. Oh, Miss Helen, is it
It's the video at the top.
All right.
The first video.
All right.
It was only a week.
And then I'm thinking, like, if it's only a week, was he like playing basketball? Was he like touring around?
Yeah, well, what had happened was he was on his off season. He hit, do you know Woman Crush Wednesday, WCW?
No.
I think actually Miss Ash sent me this video. I thought it was Helen. My error.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It was only a week.
And then I'm thinking, like, if it's only a week, was he like playing basketball? Was he like touring around?
Yeah, well, what had happened was he was on his off season. He hit, do you know Woman Crush Wednesday, WCW?
No. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So he listed me as his Woman Crush Wednesday for a couple weeks, and I hadn't like.
In a row?
Yeah, a couple weeks in a row.
Oh.
And then he was really committed.
How old is
And
this man?
He's 20. He's a year younger than me.
He's younger than
Yes.
you, and he's in the NBA?
Yes, it's
he's
crazy.
Sailing
He's the
through the
youngest person
sky?
in the NBA.
Really?
Yeah. He was in his off season. He listed me as his Woman Crush Wednesday. I saw
Was that Totes Flats?
It was very flat.
Yeah.
And his fans told me, they were like, you gotta follow him or whatever. So then I looked at his page and I was just like, oh, like this is kind of interesting.
YouTube, this is for educational purposes. Do not shut us down again, please. I'm begging, as I must do under the system, you to not shut us down. This is for educational purposes. All right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
20-year-old NBA star.
Yeah, and-
Center, that's an important position.
Yeah, sure.
Some
seemed
of
like it to
those
me.
guard, I can't think of another one. Not as necessary.
Yeah, he seemed like,
Big deal.
yeah. So I just thought, okay, cool. I followed him and I like sent him a little message and it was like a public message. And then since I followed him and he was following me, he sent me a direct message with his phone number.
Which is like a bold move. The first one was the phone number?
Yeah, he went right for it.
Wait, did it say anything or was it just the number?
It was, hey, we should get to know each other. Then his phone number.
Wow.
It was a bit, it's a bit forward.
For his position, he's supposed to be centered, and here he is being very forward. Okay, we can have
God.
sports jokes.
I like it. My kiss story with Andre. My first kiss with him was
Andre.
after we had gone laser tagging. Me and some of my friends went back to my house, and he was having a car service pick him up, as he would, and they all kind of were like,
Uber or car service?
like his driver, but that was there for the week.
Shut
His name was Alfred. Yeah, it's true.
No.
It was a lot.
This guy is the coolest.
So all of my friends like left, and then he was like, my car's outside, and I was like, oh, okay, and like trying to look like ready to be kissed. So then he came over and he was like, hey,
like been really a fun time or whatever, and can't wait to see you tomorrow because we'd already made plans to see each other the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So I stood on a chair, but it's called the Cuddler, and I got it from Z Gallery, and it's in my living room, and
The cuddler.
the Cuddler. It's a very comfy, sort of like squishy round.
I'm
couch
picturing a
thing.
husband. You know those husband chairs?
No.
They're chairs that look like this.
Okay.
Like they have arms and you lean on them and read.
It does not have arms. It's sort of
This
just
one's-
got like a weird back, and it's like a circular thing, and
Okay.
it goes around itself.
Okay.
But it's also very wobbly, so I like stepped on it, but stepped far enough back that I wouldn't fall over. But that was just so I could be up to his height.
Nice.
And then I don't know, I just sort of went for it, but it wasn't great.
You initiated.
Yeah,
Nice.
but it just didn't go great. Like it wasn't
Sparks.
no
Fireworks.
sparks, and just like like the mouths just didn't, the shapes weren't like
It's
right.
interesting. And while you're smooching, how in your own head are you? Are you thinking?
Oh, completely. Oh God, it's just forget about it.
You're doing a voiceover.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, okay, God, well, I gotta see this guy for like the next couple days. We've already made a lot of plans. I feel like if I get out of it now, it's gonna be weird. He's already posted on Twitter, so now everybody knows. There's all these people. If I just like
That's
ride
why
this
it's
out
on
for
your
a little bit,
Wikipedia and stuff. Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So it
like
was
a thing.
There's this whole this whole inner monologue going, and like, God, I mean, that's with most people, but it's just terrible. So then the final day that we went on was at the Grove.
Oh, you
And
guys are doing
he
all the
went-
LA things.
Yeah, it was a little LA. But he went to the store, and I was like sitting there having lunch by myself because he said he had to go get something.
Yeah.
And he came back and gave me like a really fancy necklace, and like got down on his knees and asked me to be his girlfriend, and it was just really uncomfortable. And
Oh, no.
I just I just kind of started laughing because that was sort of my reaction.
Your go-to because you felt uncomfortable.
Because I was just uncomfortable.
He's on his knees. There's a little bit of there's an awkward giggle.
Yeah.
And then what do you say?
I was like, yes. I mean, I said yes. I was having some family.
Oh God. Oh God. Miss Ash is the remainder of it also telling or what do you say?
I think we should listen to the last minute.
All right, thank you.
Some personal things and sort of wiggled out of it through that, and honestly that was something that I should have been dealing with anyway, so I was like, hey, I got to deal with my family stuff. So
Yeah.
And that was like a couple days after he left and got home.
That was a couple days after he left.
He left that day, and then a couple days afterward was when I had the conversation with him where I said, hey,
Yeah.
I gotta deal with some things.
It's weird. So here's only a week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should be done. I'm going to say should be done on the phone at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's better. I see the rationale of like, let's do this. FaceTime?
The breakup?
Yeah.
Phone call. No FaceTime.
Is that a red flag? Had you ever spoken on the phone before?
We had spoken on the phone. The phone, it went texts, phone calls, FaceTimes.
Oh, you had phone
So
calls.
this was, yeah. So the phone call was like the intro.
Oh,
Yeah.
it degraded.
But yeah, so we did do the backtrack because since we started FaceTiming, we did not really do just the phone calls.
See that?
Mr. Drummond?
Very interesting. I kind of it wasn't intended, but if this is let's see, did maybe Andre respond with some like maybe there was just like a lesson well learned from him.